So we're one of the top universities in the world. We're one of the top 2 public universities in the United States. This is the full Block M. You're getting the full deal here. And the only difference is you won't necessarily be able to go to all 7 home football games. Graduates of this degree are fully vested members of our alumni community, removing the constraint of having to travel and live in Ann Arbor. It's just not practical for a vast population of potential students, but still being able to benefit from that world-class expertise is an incredible thing.
I think that what's exciting about data science right now is that it can be used across sectors. So whether you are interested in healthcare or education or work with Silicon Valley companies, all of those areas can be informed by data. And that's part of why when we're dealing with high stakes areas like healthcare and education, that ethical use of data becomes so important, and our care to make sure that we aren't biased is important.
Hello, Chuck here. We're in Milan, Italy. Hello, Chuck here. We are here in Paris, France. Well, hello. We are at Bletchley Park. Here we are in Orlando. Here we are in
So my name is Charles Severance. I am a clinical professor at the University of Michigan School of Information. I am now, by far, the most dominant Python class in the whole world, touching over 2 million lives. And you might say, why is that? Well, I claim it's because of the assessments. If you end up doing my homework for 2 hours, you're doing the job you're supposed to eventually do. I mean, my homework is job-ready skills, right? I mean, I don't have homework that is a waste of time just so I can make it hard for you. So I hope that when you participate in this new master's online degree, that you are as excited as I am. I'm excited to be part of it. I'm excited to see something that I consider completely next generation in terms of approach to teaching. So I really hope that someday we meet and someday you can tell me what you think of this particular experience and to see if you saw it as wonderful as I believe that it's going to be. Go Blue.
Welcome to the University of Michigan School of Information live webinar on our new, fully online Master's of Applied Data Science degree. I'm Amy Humkus-Hayes, the Assistant Director of Academic Program Delivery in the School of Information and part of the MADS team. We're excited to have you here today and to answer your questions. So as we get started, let me allow our faculty to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Chao-Ju Mei. I'm the director of the MADS degree program. When I put the hat off, I'm also the associate professor at the School of Information. So I do lots of research in machine learning, data mining, information retrieval, and their applications in healthcare, in social media, and in all the other fields that we can actually advance people's daily lives.
And I'm Kristen Fanachera. I'm a clinical associate professor here. I'm really interested in data literacy and how we translate between the worlds of data and the worlds of taking action and making meaningful impacts that way. And I'm teaching the professional communications course.
Hi, I'm Chris Brooks. I'm a research assistant professor here at the school. I'm interested in education technology. I apply a lot of data science methods to do things like predictive modeling of student success. And I actually teach in several of our online MOOCs in the data science area.
Great. So we're pleased to report that we received over 1,000 questions as part of our webinar submission process. So today we're going to start by answering several questions that were repeated multiple times by lots of folks that are interested in joining us in the MADS program. If you asked a very specific question, we welcome you to follow us up with us via email, where we can answer your question or we can set up a phone call to talk in more depth. You are also welcome to pose questions to us live during this event using the Twitter hashtag UMSIwebinar. And at the end, if we have some time, we're more than welcome to answer some of those questions. So to get started, many of our participants are interested in hearing about our motivations for launching a Master's of Applied Data Science degree in the University of Michigan School of Information, and are especially curious about what applied means. Chao-Ju, can you tell us how we define applied and how the MADS degree may differ from other online data science degrees?
Oh, absolutely. So data science is a very broad concept. Different people have different views of data science. There's the theoretical view, mainly taken by statisticians. They focus on the mathematical and statistical foundations of data science. There's also the computational view, where people focus more on how to develop efficient and effective algorithms and systems to deal with very large-scale datasets and to conduct the prediction tasks. So we take the applied view, and that is broader and also more practical than other views. So you can think about applied data science as the practice of using different types of methods, not only statistical methods or computation methods, but also computational tools and experimental tools to actually deal with real-world data, to solve real-world problems, to help real users to make better decisions and to live better lives. So according to this view, our curriculum is developed as the end-to-end curriculum for data science. It focuses all the way through how to formulate the real-world scenario into the data science problem, and how to gather data from the real context, how to process them, how to analyze them, how to make predictions, and how to communicate the results to the real users, and how to actually translate the results into interventions that can really make a change in people's daily lives.
That's great. I really love your definition of applied. And I'm curious then if you can tell us what kinds of data sets or projects do you imagine that MAD students will participate in?
Oh, absolutely. So because we have this applied view, right, we will use lots of datasets that actually come from reality. We will use real-world datasets that were concerned about real people. And lots of those datasets are gathered from industries, companies that we collaborate with, and also in nonprofits or real-world social media contexts. And our goal is to let the students to actually do projects that are so proud of to put into their portfolio, to actually show off that they have the techniques to make big changes through data science techniques.
That's wonderful. So Chris, I'm hoping that you can tell us more about the kinds of courses that MADS program will offer, and maybe more specifically what some of our potential students can anticipate taking if they were to enroll in fall 2019 courses.
Yeah, so we've got a number of different courses scheduled up for this coming fall. There will be an introduction, for instance, to data science that'll discuss the field at a variety of different levels. We've got a data manipulation course, and so I'm going to be teaching this course, so I'll share how I think about it. It's becoming a one with the pandas library in Python and really being able to use that. We've got a visual exploration of data course that I'm teaching with Dr. Nia Dowell as well. That'll come this fall. Basic information visualization, a math methods course. So there are some math requirements for this program, and I think there was a question about that later. But there will be some basics of some of the math methods that a lot of the machine learning courses that will come in the future in the second semester. Looking forward, we do have a number of machine learning courses, supervised and unsupervised machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and then capstone courses, which are really portfolio projects as well.
That's wonderful. So speaking of courses, Kristen, I'm wondering if you can tell us which courses in the MADS degree are required. So as you can imagine, several of our webinar participants are curious about how flexible or not the MADS program will be.
So there's a couple of answers to that question. So in our rollout, in our first year of the program, all of the courses will be required, and there will be 30 courses, which sounds like a lot, but most of the courses are only 1 credit and they last for 1 month. Capstone projects have a slightly higher course load. And so what's appealing about that is it's really easy to choose the number of courses you take at one time, and also to determine if you need to step out for a few months, if you're a tax accountant and you need to take a few months off for tax season and come back in, that's an option. And in some cases, you'll have some flexibility in the order of the courses. Some have more formal prereqs than others.
So relatedly, given that the program enables students to take as few as 1 credit, as many as 3 credits a month, is it suitable for folks that have full-time jobs, for example, those with young children or aging parents? Talk to us a little bit about how any and all of those folks might fit into our program.
Yeah, the idea of being a right program for a broad audience is really key to how we've thought about this new degree program. So you can choose, I just want to do one course at a time, and you can choose that you want to do maybe 3 courses at a time. And also, you'll have the opportunity to choose the times during the week when you work on courses. For some people who have young children, that hour right after they go to bed might be the right time. And for others, being able to set aside Saturday as your work time might be the way to go. So we've tried to really think in advance about the fact that you have a life beyond Michigan.
And I know that I appreciate that as a parent with young children. So Chris, can you tell us a little bit about how similar or not this degree is from residential UMSI programs?
Yeah, so, as we were planning out this degree, there was a lot of discussion in the faculty, and we put a lot of thought into what does it mean to do online, and how's that different from residential. And you heard Kristen talk about how you could time shift a little bit and do things at different times during the week. One thing that's very clear from our faculty, from our dean, from our interest in the school is that this is a Michigan degree. And so there's a rigor that's associated with it. There's an investment that students are expected to give and that faculty are expected to give back to those students. So we've thought a lot about that. So this is a rigorous full degree. And I know that with online degrees, there's a lot of different options. And in the online space, I mean, we teach in the MOOC space too on Coursera. And there's a lot of different options. And this really is a full credential. We're looking at opportunities to leverage technology as much as possible to give a close and tight connection. And really, we're going to need the students to help with this, to tell us what that connection needs to be. Students that finish this degree join the U of M alumni, which I think is 500,000 people. It's a huge alumni base, and so I'm Canadian, and when I go up to Canada, I'll often wear my Michigan T-shirt, and somebody wherever I am will say "Go Blue" as they walk by. It's an amazing alumni association here. There's going to be regular examinations. Not everything's a multiple choice quiz. There's going to be programming assignments. This is an applied degree. People are going to be expected to have to create and solve problems. Some of these will be auto-graded through technology. Lots will be hand-graded as well. So it really is a full-fledged degree.
That's wonderful to hear. And what I'm also hearing you say then is because it is another full UMSI program, that the faculty that we rely on to teach these courses will often be the same faculty that are teaching in our residential program.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happens for students when they get a transcript and diploma? What will it look like? How will it feel as compared to our residential programs?
Yeah, so it'll feel very similar to our residential program. You'll get a University of Michigan diploma, a Master's of Applied Data Science.
And my understanding is that there's no mention on the diploma, for example, or the transcript about our delivery mechanism. So although the content is being delivered in an online format, the degree and all of the credentials around the degree are just like what you would see if you were in a residential program here at the University of Michigan.
Absolutely. And on the back end, we don't treat it any differently in our faculty groups. We have a committee which Xiaoju runs of faculty and staff who are looking at the degree. We have an admissions process that mirrors and in some places even more rigorous than our on-campus degree. So this really is the full experience.
That's great. And Xiaoju, so one of the things that we've talked about is how we're innovating in this space. Mm-hmm. One of the ways that we're innovating is providing these 1 credit, 1 month courses, which we're really excited about. And at the same time, we also understand that there's going to be other ways in which students will engage in this learning process. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that model for learning, or kind of what that engagement between faculty and students is going to look like for our degree?
Yes. So in general, the courses will be run in an asynchronous way. So that means you don't have to find a fixed time to watch the videos, to do the work. If you can actually move faster, you can always move faster. If you have daily jobs, you can always do that at night. But on the other hand, there are opportunities for you to get high touch experience with faculty who are teaching the course and with your fellow students. There will be live office hours every week that you are welcome to participate. And there will be like course levels, Slack channels, or other communication tools that you can interact with the course instructors, with the TAs, with your peer students. So we want to create this community and cohort for you to advance your learning.
I love your use of the word community, because to me it speaks to what we're trying to do here at the University of Michigan, which is to create a really vibrant learning community. And more specifically in the School of Information, take what we know about how to do that well and put it into in ways that are easy for our online students to engage in. But it doesn't mitigate the fact that they are going to be such a great part of this larger UMSI community, as well as the MADS community specifically.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, as you can imagine, other data science programs sometimes require undergraduate degrees, for example, in computer science, statistics, math, but our program is unique in the fact that it doesn't. And as you can imagine, some of our diverse participants today have wondered, what are the prerequisites? How can people successfully prepare, or how do people know that they are prepared well enough to apply? Kristen, can you tell us a little bit more about what some of those requirements are?
Sure. First, I want to say that it's important to the way UMSI was founded that we take great pride in bringing together people from diverse backgrounds. So my undergraduate degree was in theater, for example. And so please don't think, they're looking for a specific age or a specific background or a specific geographic home, because we have always found that we thrive with those diverse perspectives that you can bring. We will ask that you come in having some basic Python proficiency. And if you're listening to this and you haven't heard about Python before, it is a key programming language that the program uses to do data crunching. And we'll ask you to have some basic statistical knowledge as well. There is a whole group of folks who kind of became accidental data scientists without that statistical background, and we're trying to make sure that you have a smoother transition. You can take those with traditional college courses, or we actually do have MOOC courses that the university already offers to complete those requirements. We did make a decision about math. All data science has some math involved, but that will be addressed in the individual courses as opposed to being a formal prerequisite course. So you don't need to know complex math before you get here. It will be woven into the instruction. And as I mentioned, we have several courses about stats with Python, data science with Python, and if you were here at the beginning, you saw Chuck Severance on the earlier video. He has wildly successful Python courses online that you can take.
That's wonderful. Relatedly, Chris, we're talking about tech. So can you give us a clearer sense of what we envision the tech stack to be for the program? What are the programming languages? What are the other technical requirements that we would anticipate students would either need to know and or would be learning or strengthening in their participation in the program?
Yeah. So one of my roles in this program is actually to help direct and build the technical infrastructure. And it's really quite fun. We have several programmers, and we're working with Coursera tightly on that. So we're trying to build a very novel experience. As Jiaju mentioned, we're trying to do things like build communities with Slack. So we expect the program will have a Slack channel or something similar to that, with courses having individual Slack workspaces. As Kristen mentioned, the primary programming language throughout is going to be Python. And there's a lot of different options one has with data science. R, for instance, is really big, Stata, etc. But Python is consistently a growing programming language, and it's really quite good for end-to-end data science, which this program focuses on, where you have to do everything from data manipulation and communication of results all the way through to machine learning. And so that'll be a core aspect. And I think that for most of the courses, the main delivery mechanism, the main environment that students will be working in is the Jupyter Notebook. And this is just a stellar opportunity to do data science using something called computational narratives, which is what Jupyter enables. And Coursera was one of the first platforms to actually build this into the platform, and they did so for our Applied Data Science with Python course, and learners have given us really good positive feedback around that. And we're looking to leverage that in this program as well.
That's fantastic. And we're talking a lot about programming languages. And as you can imagine, some folks are wondering, so how does this degree in fact differ from a master's degree in computer science? Can you tell us a little bit more about how it's different or how it's not?
Yeah, it is, I think, quite a bit different. So we're focused a lot on the applications and in the doing. We're not going to teach you compiler theories and methods of compilers. We're not going to teach you semantics of the operating system and switching between processes. There's a lot that goes into a computer science degree that I think is really interesting. I'm a computer scientist myself by background. Our focus here is going to be on leveraging the learner's broad disciplinary background, wherever their undergrad is from, and that could include computer science and statistics. It could include theater. It could include humanities, social sciences. Biomedical is a growing area, and teach them the skills, tools, and techniques that they need to apply data science principles to that field or to other fields, and really help them become a practitioner of data science in a relatively quick 36 credit unit program.
Wonderful. So as we've talked a lot about the program and the rigors of the program and the structure of the program, one of the things that we've been quite clear about in our communication to potential applicants or applicants to date is that when the program launches, it's going to take at least 24 months to finish. And so as you can imagine, people have wondered why. Can you give us a little bit more information about why it's going to take that long? And then what happens after that 24-month period? How much or little can students engage the program in different rates or paces? Xiaozhu, I'm wondering if you can answer those questions for us.
Sure, absolutely. So, as we said that we have designed the curriculum in such a flexible way, so it could really accommodate people who have different plans or different levels of effort in their learning process. For instance, you can finish the program in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, depending on how fast you move, how much effort you want to put into here. So the first cohort of students needs to take 24 months is because that we're right now creating these courses, designing these courses. So these students need to take the courses when as they are launched for the first time. But after a course has been launched, they will be offered 3 times a year. So that really enables the later cohorts to finish the program in shorter time.
So it sounds like for our first students, there's really a tremendous opportunity for them to come and join us in community, and for all of us to kind of go down this path together as we launch the program and then continue to add courses throughout that 24 months.
Exactly, and we're eager to actually learn from students' experience.
That's fantastic. So as you could imagine, we got a number of good questions about financial aid and scholarship opportunities. So I'm actually going to take a minute to address these questions given my role as a staff person in the MADS degree. So as you could imagine, many of our potential applicants are interested in the ways in which they can fund the degree. So one thing that we want to make very clear is that we will have scholarship opportunities for many of our MADS students. And these scholarship opportunities will include both for domestic students or students that are from the United States, and for international students or students that are studying and pursuing the MADS degree in another country, for example. We also recognize that there are other financial aid options available to students. For example, we would anticipate that some students may take out loans or engage in part of the financial aid process at the University of Michigan. We've talked to several folks that are interested in participating in the degree by getting tuition support from their employer because they are either already doing data science work or anticipate doing data science work in the future. And then finally, students were interested in how would I pay my bill? So how often is tuition paid? And so we're here to report that generally speaking, tuition is billed in 3 times at the University of Michigan within an academic year. But the good news is that students can also participate in installment payments. So I'm here to say that we're very aware of and are equally concerned with how students can fund the degree experience. We're responding using a multifaceted approach of scholarships, loans, and employer sponsorship, as well as other kinds of aids. And certainly we're willing to talk to anyone that's interested in learning more about what those options are or when they might find out. I should add that we're really dedicated to ensuring that students know well before when that first bill would be due, how they're going to fund the degree. So that's something that although we can't, for example, give you today a firm number on what the scholarship amounts may be, or the finite criteria of how you might get one. We certainly can say that we're going to do that in a timely way so students can understand and know where the money is going to be coming from to pay their bills. We also received a lot of questions about our application process. So part of our application process is assessing readiness for our program. And Chris, I was hoping that you could tell us more about the assessments we require, but more importantly, I was hoping you could tell us why we require them.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think that that's important. So we have two assessments, one in statistics and one in Python programming. And the assessments are really important for everybody involved. And they're important for us to make sure that we're being very clear with students with what kind of skills we expect, and to really help the students identify if they don't have those skills, and then deal with those issues. And as Kristen mentioned, the University of Michigan, we have a lot of different online learning opportunities that are low cost and low stakes. In the MOOCs platform, we have two specializations that teach intro Python, for instance, one that Chuck Severance runs, and one that Paul Resnick, Steve Oney, and I are involved in. And these are great to help prepare you for these entrance requirements. The University of Michigan also has a statistics MOOC specialization. This is very suitable for giving you the foundations of statistics that you need to know in order to get into the program. And that's things like t-tests, z-scores, basic distributions, and so forth.
And with the Python assessment, can you give us any expectation of what some of the topics may be, for example?
Yeah, so for Python, what we're looking for, and you certainly don't have to take the MOOCs. If you already have programming experience, please, definitely, we encourage you to apply, to look at the samples that we'll have. We'll have sample assessments available as well. And with the Pythons, we want to know basics of programming, conditionals, iterations, recursion, and that you're able to do basic data manipulation and data structures with Python. Then we'll take over and help teach you more advanced skills with the language and package-specific skills, the data science packages that you might expect, like pandas, scikit-learn, matplotlib, and so forth.
Okay. And is it fair to assume that both assessments will evoke a number of different question types? So for example, would we anticipate that students may be doing multiple, or applicants might be doing multiple choice, fill in the blank, perhaps actually engaging in some programming?
Absolutely. There will be all of those. And that'll, I think, will also describe a little bit what our degree will have. Our degree will be programming heavy, I would say. That's the main form of assessment throughout. It's a very applied degree. But there will be opportunity for short answer, fill in the blank, multiple choice, and so forth as well.
Wonderful. So since we're talking about application requirements, I would be remiss if I didn't engage in some dialogue around the rest of the application process. So as you can imagine, in addition to our assessments, prospective students are very interested in learning about what does it mean for the School of Information to engage in application review, and how can I create a strong application? So the first thing I want to say is that the University of Michigan School of Information is really dedicated to conducting a holistic review. So we take advantage of looking at every aspect of every application that we receive. And we are looking at all both quantitative and qualitative data that we get from our applicants when making admissions decisions. More specifically, I wanted to address each aspect of the application with just a little bit more detail about what it is that we're looking for. So for example, we have all applicants submitting both a personal statement and a statement of purpose. And for these, we've actually offered questions that folks can respond to, so we can get a clearer sense, for example, of when we say data science, what does that mean to you? And how might you put data science to work, for example, in an applied context, right? What are your motivations for doing that? What is your background, and how may that background relate to the community that we've built here at the University of Michigan School of Information? What are the kinds of experiences or identities or interests that you bring to our community? So these essays are not long necessarily. We're actually looking for some concise information, information, but I also want to really encourage people that are watching today to write detailed information. And in fact, both is achievable. So to be both concise and detailed when telling us more about yourself. We also require 3 recommendation letters. Preferably those are from folks that can speak about your capacity for being successful in our program. We recognize that for our applicants that may not necessarily always be an academic recommendation letter, although certainly we would welcome and encourage folks to get them. But really we're looking for an opportunity for people to tell us in a professional way what they know about you and what they know about your readiness for and success in our program. We're also engaged in collecting transcripts, and so here we're talking about transcripts from any other institution with which you have a degree, and those would include both undergraduate and graduate degree transcripts. All transcripts and grades will be considered. So we did have some folks ask, if I already have a master's degree, for example, would you consider that transcript in your admissions process? And the answer is yes. We're looking for a current resume that helps us understand your previous experiences. So we would anticipate, for example, if you're a working professional, that includes information about your current job as well as your work history, that if you are a student, but perhaps, again, you've had previous professional experience, you're telling us about that. We're also, of course, very invested in things like co-curricular learning experiences, leadership experiences, research experience, community service learning experience. So it's really a wonderful opportunity for you to share with us a combination of your experiences, your skills, certifications, for example, any and all of those things. And then finally, for those of us who want to participate in the program but don't have English as a native language, we would anticipate that they submit a TOEFL score. Generally, we're looking for a TOEFL score of around at least 100. We can evaluate other English language proficiency tests on a case-by-case basis. So we strongly prefer TOEFL, however, we are open to accepting other tests as well. So how does that feel? It's quite a list of admissions criteria, but one that we hope represents our commitment to the thoroughness and the holistic process with which we engage. So related to these application questions, Xiaozhu, lots of folks have approached us to indicate that they have taken certifications, for example, on MOOC platforms like Coursera, or that they have credits, for instance, in a statistics program. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the faculty thinking on testing out of certain courses or accepting transfer credit?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very good question. I'd love to talk about that.
Great.
So, right now we don't really have a test out course from the degree. In the future, when we build lots of courses, we will select some courses for people to test out. Right now we don't have them. But if you just want to actually get a sense of what the lectures look like, as Chris mentioned, that there are, MOOC specializations run by the university that you can feel free to actually take and experience. But do remember that the online degree program, the degree curriculum is deeper, is more rigorous, and is much more systematic. And about transfer credits, as Chris mentioned, that rigor is actually one of the biggest factors that distinguishes the degree program from the MOOC specialization. So we're not allowing transfer credits because of the reason, because we cannot assess the rigor of all these existing MOOC courses. With that said, we are developing the curriculum in such a flexible way. So if you actually have received training in certain areas, say for instance, I have taken the applied data science MOOC specialization, then you can just move faster in related courses in online program. Like for instance, you can just do the homework. You don't have to watch all the videos, right? And that will help us to move things fast. Do remember that the courses in our curriculum are built upon each other. So we need to make sure that students have the right background to take each courses, and after they are done, we need to make sure that they are ready for the jobs that they are desired for.
I really appreciate that answer. And what it makes me think is that it's an important thing for applicants to let us know, for example, in their resume or application, that they've had some exposure, for instance, through a specialization or through other coursework, that in fact is a positive thing if they were admitted to the program. But at the same time, that for the purposes of the rigor and integrity of the program, we really want them to be a full participant in all of the courses and opportunities that we have.
Exactly.
Perfect. So, Chris, as you can imagine, you've talked to, well, you're not imagining it, you're living it actually. As a faculty that's recorded and MOOCs and had the opportunity to talk to folks all over the world about how their careers have been influenced by the skills that they've gained in your MOOC courses. Can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of careers that you anticipate MADS graduates might pursue?
Yeah, so we've had now, I think, over 20,000 students come through our Applied Data Science with Python course and get certificates out of it. And these students come from all walks of life. And I do want to emphasize, again, the incredible diversity of our school as it is now and of the program that we're looking to build. And so many of the students who have come in through that program that I've talked to go off to jobs in with large companies, not necessarily tech companies, but sometimes tech companies doing data science. And so they could be doing data science on shipments, for instance, of goods, or they could be doing data science at a technology company looking at the effectiveness of a marketing campaign, for instance. In this program, we're interested in helping create data scientists who can go from start to finish and who can really do this, as Jiaju called it, end-to-end data science. And so there are other programs out there that will train you to be a machine learning engineer, but we want to train holistic data scientists. And I think that that's particularly advantageous for people who are in a career and want to move into doing data science in that career, whatever that domain is, or have strong knowledge of a domain, let's say an undergraduate degree or background in some domain, and want to apply data science principles, tools, and techniques to that. And I really do believe that data science is going to become this new fundamental skill that crosses all domains, arts through sciences and engineering. And so the opportunity to train people in those skills and tools, I think, is huge.
Now, you mentioned earlier a little bit about the strength of the University of Michigan alumni community. And certainly I would imagine that alumni community may also play a role in how MAD students navigate their career trajectory during and after the program.
Yes, very much. So we're talking actually with a number of Michigan alumni have gone off to found very successful companies, and we're talking with a number of them about becoming involved in the program. We don't have full details on that involvement, but the things that we're interested in talking about are things like hiring partnerships, job placements, sharing data sets in real-world interviews, and building projects with those. So that's a highlight of things that we're interested in and that we're trying to connect with.
And am I correct in saying that at a program level support, that we would also anticipate that MAD students would have access to the University of Michigan School of Information's Career Development Office and their expertise around how to prepare yourself well for jobs?
Absolutely. So again, this is our full Michigan experience. And one thing that we're very proud of here at the University of Michigan School of Information are job placements for our master's and PhD students. This is really one of the top universities in the world. And with that comes the career placement opportunities that we bring.
Excellent. So Kristen, you've been a part of the University of Michigan community for some time. And I know you've taken advantage of, as have I, many of the resources, like our libraries that exist. Can you give us a clearer sense of the kinds of on-campus resources or opportunities that might be available to MAD students?
Sure. So first, if you live in the area, you're welcome to join our regular School of Information activities, the series of lectures, mock interviews, career advice, resume review, those kinds of things. And we will also be broadcasting as available to MAD students so that they can take advantage of those as well. And I'm glad you brought up career services and those real-world applications. That's a real hallmark of our school. You also get access to the full University of Michigan Library, which has over 13 million items. It's actually one of the largest library collections in the world. And what you should be thinking about if you are not close to Ann Arbor is the enormous volume of data sets, data tools, scholarly articles. You will probably never be more plugged into high quality information than you are when you are a MAD student. You get the real U of M email address, you get the real U of M Google Suite tools, and I will say that our staff is incredible at really thinking about who else they can ask and how else we can integrate MADS into the day-to-day life. We do not see MADS students as being separate from our regular students. We see them as being geographically dispersed perhaps, but not as different. And in fact, that would mean that you would get access. There's been a lot of talk about the word MOOC, and just in case you're sitting there thinking, I don't know what a MOOC is, it's a massive open online course, which means it's a course that you can take in your own time. They are either low cost or you can audit or take them for free across a wide range of subjects. And that was one of the ways that we knew that that there was a need for more degree programs that went further than those online courses. And our Michigan students take those courses for free so that when they're doing projects and they realize they have a skill they maybe don't have. If you don't know survey design, you can take the MOOC really quickly and watch all the videos about survey design. So you will have an enormous range of support and resources here.
I so appreciate that important clarification, because for those of us sitting in these chairs, that's a word that we use all the time. And yet there are so many folks that aren't using that nomenclature. So thank you. And what I really appreciated about what you said is that we're working pretty hard and already exploring and moving towards implementing ways to ensure that MADS students, again, feel like they're a part of this community. So you could envision a future where we may be having a large-scale event at the University of Michigan School of Information here in Ann Arbor, but where any MADS student could plug into that event virtually, so they have access, for example, to those same speakers or that same wonderful content. Excellent. So as you can all imagine, we've had lots of folks that are excited and are eager to know when they will or will not be accepted. And so I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to share what we can tell you now about how the acceptance process will work. So as we've widely promoted, the priority deadline is April 1st. And applications that are up until April 1st, up and beyond, I should say, applications will be reviewed on a rolling basis, with the first round of decisions being announced after the priority deadline. So we can tell you very clearly that no one will know what their admission status is until after April 1st. We can say that. And we can also tell you that in the meantime, applications may start to be reviewed before April 1st, but that is the priority deadline. No admission announcements will be made until then or after then. As we indicated before, we will work really diligently and carefully to provide a holistic review, but also an efficient review. So we recognize that students may also be engaged in application processes and other programs. We're sensitive to that. We want students to know in a timely fashion what our admissions offers are. And I should also add that this is new to us, as we've made really clear, I think, throughout this process. And so because it's new to us, we don't have the opportunity to say, well, we anticipate that this is the volume of applications we will receive, or in previous years, this has been our acceptance rate, right? And so in some ways, that's why we're being a little bit intentionally vague, because we just don't know those things. But I will say that generally speaking, we're going to communicate admissions decisions, or hope to, roughly within 4 to 6 weeks after the priority deadline. So as our final pre-submitted question, many students want to know, why should they apply to this program versus another data science or related computer science degree? Xiaozhu, can you walk us through what sets us apart from other programs?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very excited. If I were a student, I would actually apply to this degree.
Me too.
First of all, it's all about Michigan, right? As you've seen from the video, we're top public university. We're the top information school, right? We have the world-class faculty, who are doing cutting-edge research in applied data science. And this faculty has been teaching our residential programs, and now the same faculty will be teaching the online degree in your program. We're very excited about that.
Indeed.
And second, we are very proud of the end-to-end curriculum we are going to offer. It is novel, right? It is different from the other, data science programs. It is flexible, right? So you can actually, take your own pace in there. And it is end-to-end. It really prepares you to be someone who can actually use data science techniques to solve real problems. We're very proud of that. Historically, our students in our residential programs are almost 100% employed after they walked out from their program, and we're trying to, do the same.
Exactly, right. We want to meet the same objective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as Chris mentioned, that we actually have hope that the curriculum in this online degree could be even more rigorous, more systematic than what we have been doing. We take this as the great opportunity, not only to deliver our mission of education, but also as an opportunity to innovate, to actually make better, education program, to be the leader, right, to represent the Michigan brand. And finally, we have lots of experience educating, students online. As we mentioned, these MOOC specializations we have run, we have, taught over 7 million, students all over the world. So we have lots of experience of, teaching online. This will be the program that you will be proud of as well.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I felt like that's really the perfect answer for what distinguishes us. Is there anything that you would add, Chris or Kristen?
Yeah, actually, so one thing that not all online programs are created the same, and I think this one is definitely not created like others. We're not just taking our regular classes, sticking a camera in it, filming it, and making you watch that lecture. We're building an experience for students online. We're making it so that it's flexible. We're pushing our partners like Coursera to innovate with our platform to really build something that's novel and unique. And I think that that's going to pay off really well, and really will distinguish us from a lot of the other programs that are out there.
And I would add that people love teaching. And so we've had so many conversations about which is the best tool, what's the best manner of carrying that out, what do we do to build in a sense of inclusivity. And so that, on top of the fact that we aren't expecting cookie cutter students to be coming in, that we build on strengths, I think is what sets us apart.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead now and look to see if we have any questions from the hashtag UMSI webinar. And I welcome those participants to post to that Twitter hashtag as well. So let me take a look to see if we have anything interesting here that we can ask. So one of the things that we've talked a lot about is this concept of end-to-end applied, right? The ways in which we're distinguishing ourselves from other data science programs. And at the same time, a lot of what we've talked about today are the technical requirements, which is a worthwhile thing to talk about because, as Chris indicated before, most of this degree, in fact, is technical, or a good chunk of it, right, and relies, for example, on the increasing expertise in Python. That said, I also wonder, what are other ways that we would describe end-to-end? So, for example, what are some of the other concepts or things that we would anticipate math students learning that are not technical, let's say?
Well, I can take that question.
Great.
So we are concerned with the complete life cycle, the entire life cycle of data and data analytics, right? So we believe that the real valuable data science should be what we call of the people, by the people, and for the people. It originates from the scenario that involves real users, real contexts, right? So we will learn methods on how to actually formulate the questions in those scenarios into the solvable data science problem, right? We will talk a lot about the ethics issues, right? Of what is considered as good, what is considered as harm in using data science. Believe me, right? Not every person can actually use data science in the right way, right? And then, other things beyond the technical aspects, we're going to teach students how to communicate the results to, different, stakeholders, to the real people, right? That is very important. We will also talk about how to translate the results into interventions, into field experiments, or in industry, they call them A/B tests, right? To actually change people's behaviors towards the good way. So these techniques are unlikely to be offered, in a more computational driven data science program or the theoretical data science program.
I think that emphasis on related concepts like data ethics is really another thing that distinguishes our program. As a person that consumes data and yet does not analyze data, one of the things that I'm also really interested in knowing about is this idea of visualizing data. So what does it mean to do that effectively, or how do we help people like me, a layperson, for instance, make sense of data, particularly in an era of now I'm going to kind of throw out terms that, excuse my naivete, but like big data or deep data. So I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how will the program engage in communicating data?
So I can take that question. First, when we start taking data out of spreadsheets and start manipulating it so that we can see it in visual form, where you talk about things like how does adjusting on a graph, the intervals of the axis, how it does smushing a graph change someone's interpretation of the data that hasn't changed. We talk about things like how color and font also affect how visualizations work. So a lot of my work is with high school educators and librarians on how do they help students unpack those visualizations. And we find that those educators tell us that things like color dramatically impact the way someone sees that information. And thinking about what is the best form to communicate data. Is it a pie chart? Pie charts are coming under tons of criticism because they're so often misused. But if I want to show what percentage of the whole is something, I might use that in that case. So really looking at the fact that a visualization is not just a mechanical process, but that there's a human that's guiding the design decisions that go with it, and that we want to be careful to properly and ethically represent the data and not play tricks that manipulate the viewer into believing something that the data doesn't show.
That's excellent. For a more practical question, one of our viewers indicates that other programs that they've seen require at least calculus and linear algebra. So they're wondering how these might be integrated into courses, particularly when, again, our course delivery mechanism of 1 month feels to this person, the word they used was short. So Chris, could you tell us a little bit about how we address that issue?
Oh, sure. So definitely, I would say the 1 month does feel short. And actually, I think that that's a powerful innovation in our playbook here, because there's a lot of things that don't fit into a 3 month span that in traditional classes we drag out a little more to fit it into there. And 1 month gives us the ability to stack multiple 1 month courses of similar topics together, or to reduce it just to that 1 month. Early on, we'll have a math methods course that will address some of the math methods that aren't statistics methods. Definitely there will be an intuition and knowledge of calculus required. It would be hard to teach things like gradient descent without understanding calculus. And similarly, a lot of the deep learning work that goes on, for instance, right now requires matrices and some linear algebra. And so some of those concepts will be taught in this math methods course. The differentiation is that we're not focused on things like provability of techniques or details of theorems. Not that these aren't important things. It's for the audience that we're looking at empowering through this. That's not the direction that we're going.
Wonderful.
And I can add a little bit to that.
Yes.
So when we introduce mathematical concepts, we believe that the most important thing is to tell students not only how it works, but also why you need to know this, right? So we rather teach some of the concepts in the context when they are actually used, right? So by doing that, we are ensuring that students not only know some math, but also know why we need this.
That is exactly, and I think an important differentiation. Absolutely. So we've been talking about MOOCs, and we've also defined now what a MOOC is, which is a good thing. And we've been talking about our degree. We've been talking about ways in which students can prepare for our degree, relying, for example, on MOOCs. But at the same time, we've been really focused on showcasing kind of both the breadth and depth of our degree. There's still some lingering questions, though, around How is this different than a MOOC? Because when people think Coursera, for example, who are maybe familiar with MOOCs, they may think MOOC. We've talked about kind of the impact that some of our experiences with MOOCs have had in how we're thinking about the degree, but we also want to be very clear, this is a degree, right, with credentialed credit that comes from our institution with a transcript and a diploma at the end. So can we just talk a little bit more, and I welcome anyone to answer this around why this is different, really different than a MOOC.
So maybe I could start, because I've taught some MOOCs on, in particular in this area of applied data science with Python. So some of the straight issues are time investment. A lot of the MOOCs you could just drop in, you can watch some videos, you can play with some things, or you could decide to do it fully. And even if you decide to do it fully, rarely does it have the same time investment that we require in a college course. And for that, we look at a student for a given course, put a single credit unit, putting in 9 to 12 hours a week. And that's what we expect of our residential students, and that's what we expect of the students who are in the MADS degree as well. Another differentiator is the level of assessment and the rigor in the assessment. The focus with the MOOCs is often to give people knowledge if they want it. And lots of people take it, lots of people browse it, flip through it, and some really take it to heart and build things based on that knowledge. In our degree, the credential is an important aspect of the degree. And that's our sign to employers that this is somebody who knows what they're doing. And it's our promise to the students that that they can take and say they've got a Michigan degree and it has meaning on the market. And so our assessments, we may have proctored examinations, for instance, which I've never heard of in a MOOC. We will have programming assignments that students will be required to do. And it's possible not to pass all courses. If you didn't pass the assessments, you would have to take the course again. And so that level of rigor is one of the big differences. And then I think the third one is, rarely in MOOCs do you have a chance to interact with instructor or even staff very tightly. And we're looking to challenge that in the online degree. Interestingly, you saw it maybe in the intro video, Chuck Severance. He's one of the few MOOC instructors lots of people have interacted with as he travels the world holding open office hours largely at Starbucks locations. But we're looking to have regular office hours. We're looking to have ways to connect in with our teaching staff and gain from them. And lastly, I would point again to the career services. We don't offer this in the MOOC world, although we hear wonderful things from many of our MOOC students about what they've done with the skills they've learned. Here, you're a student, you're in the family, and we offer these kinds of services and support, and we're proud of it.
I couldn't agree more. So the notion that we want people to walk away knowing this is a fully accredited master's degree in applied data science, that as a MAD student, you will have access to a wonderfully rigorous, well thought out, cohesive curriculum of end-to-end data science. And you'll also have access to a rich student life, academic advising, all of the things that we would anticipate that any other University of Michigan student would receive. And of course, when it's finished, you become a Michigan alumni and you have access to over 500,000 person alumni community. Well, as we wrap up today, I want to thank you to each and every one of the faculty that are here sitting with me for joining me in answering these very important questions. And I want to wish an even bigger thank you to all of our webinar participants. To take a moment to read more about the degree, go to si.umich.edu. At that location, you can also start your application. Again, the priority deadline to apply is April 1st, and we want to give you plenty of time to work and submit your application. Thanks again for joining us. We had a really wonderful time today.
So we are one of the top universities in the world. We're one of the top 2 public universities in the United States. This is the full Block M. You're getting the full deal here. And the only difference is you won't necessarily be able to go to all 7 home football games. Graduates of this degree are fully vested members of our alumni community, removing the constraint of having to travel and live in Ann Arbor. It's just not practical for a vast population of potential students, but still being able to benefit from that world-class expertise is an incredible thing.
I think that what's exciting about data science right now is that it can be used across sectors. So whether you are interested in healthcare or education or work with Silicon Valley companies, all of those areas can be informed by data. And that's part of why when we're dealing with high stakes areas like healthcare and education, that ethical use of data becomes so important, and our care to make sure that we aren't biased is important.
Hello, Chuck here. We're in Milan, Italy. Hello, Chuck here. We are here in Paris, France. Well, hello. We are at Bletchley Park. Here we are in Orlando. Here we are in
So my name is Charles Severance. I am a clinical professor at the University of Michigan School of Information. I am now, by far, the most dominant Python class in the whole world, touching over 2 million lives. And you might say, why is that? Well, I claim it's because of the assessments. If you end up doing my homework for 2 hours, you're doing the job you're supposed to eventually do. I mean, my homework is job-ready skills, right? I mean, I don't have homework that is a waste of time just so I can make it hard for you. So I hope that when you participate in this new master's online degree, that you are as excited as I am. I'm excited to be part of it. I'm excited to see something that I consider completely next generation in terms of approach to teaching. So I really hope that someday we meet and someday you can tell me what you think of this particular experience and to see if you saw it as wonderful as I believe that it's going to be. Go Blue.